While working last week on a bigger video, I got kind of smacked in the head by the news that Google is entirely putting its search engine capabilities into the hands of AI. The biggest search engine in the world, hard baked into a little bar on your smartphone and so many other places, is trading in the algorithm that's dominated the entire online landscape in exchange for chatbots. Let's go for a walk. Last week, Google announced that its search bar will be getting switched over to Gemini 3.5 Flash, an AI model that is an AI model. Different from the AI mode that Google already advertises, I think. I haven't found a comparison breakdown yet that isn't written for people who speak code, and I don't speak code. I do speak water, though. Look at this busy stream. How nice. The bottom line, though, is that soon, when you Google something, instead of getting a list of links, Google is going to give you a bot that gathers and summarizes information on the topic, gives it to you right there on Google's webpage, and then lets you ask follow-up questions. You can have a whole conversation with the bot and let it Google things for you. To be clear, you're going to be getting the bot instead of any kind of actual list of links, the thing that we're used to Google doing. That's why you're seeing people talk about how this change is going to completely upend the ways that people interact with the internet, and not for the better. Google is how pretty much everyone finds information online. Businesses rely on it, online publications rely on it, news websites are already getting their reporting yanked by Gemini and ChatGPT and all their other freak friends. When I Google the latest assassination attempt on Donald Trump, for example, the first things that Google gives me currently are links to coverage on NBC, PBS, BBC, and the YouTube channel for Firstport. When the new machine gets installed behind the scenes, you won't get any of those. Instead, the bot will find these articles and others like them, scrape them of their data with razor blades, and hand you the shavings in a way that never gets you to the websites doing the work. That's bad because it distances us from the people doing the journalism. It's bad because it teaches Google users, which again is basically everyone, to trust AI summaries no matter how much information is getting twisted or left out. It's also bad because Google is how people find things on the internet. Hey, I'll admit something here. The internet browser app on my phone typically has at least 30 tabs on it that I have forgotten to close because it opens a new one each time I search something. When you wanted to know what's been going on with the Strait of Hormuz, you probably Googled it. That search brought you to news coverage and commentary from across the internet, and that coverage needs to be Googled in order to be seen. Sure, you might go to BBC or whoever's website and make your search from there, but you probably didn't. Even if you are sitting at the computer rather than on your phone, what's that thing integrated into your address bar? Across all our devices, we've already been letting Google save us a click. It's also a bad move because any online news organization needs you to visit its website to stay afloat. If you're not viewing actual web pages, publications don't have metrics for what's getting traffic, and those metrics affect what kinds of stories staff are allowed to write, and how the corporate entities that usually own those newsrooms understand what's going on, because unfortunately numbers are the only way that things are going to make sense upstairs. They also don't get revenue for ads running on their websites. If you don't care about that for CNN, fine. Maybe you could be bothered to for your local news. After college, I worked for a couple years at a local newspaper, centered in a city of around 14,000 people. We struggled. In the time I was there, I watched us go from 7 reporters down to 3, 4 copy editors to 2. I was there when we sold our printing press. It felt all the time like we were on the edge of collapse. We were kept afloat by subscriptions to some degree. Believe it or not, there are still people who like to get their paper in the morning, especially if you live out in the sticks, which a lot of our readership did. But everyone has a smartphone. If you wanted to know about roadwork downtown, or the schedule for the farmer's market, or when the local hockey team was playing, you were Googling it. Our paper was and still is one of 2 games in town, and so Google would give you any results from both, provided that you put the town name in your search. Even while the paper was downsizing and the walls were closing in, online ad revenue kept us going in ways that paper sales haven't done in a decade and a half. If you don't care about news at all, that's okay. The AI pivot threatens death for your hobbies too. Cooking, sewing, video games, all of it. I've been a big Pokemon nut since I was a kid, and a website called Cerebi.net has always been a pretty critical place to go for news on upcoming games and information about all the ones that are out there. It's all run basically by one guy who's relied on well-placed ads to keep it afloat since 1999. Any of the countless recipe websites out there where you have to scroll through an essay about the author's supportive husband or the history of eggs, all of those blast you with an ad here and there as you scroll, and those help the authors keep their ships afloat. Let's go back to the news for a second. Pop culture and arts journalism, writing about video games, movies, books, all gets threatened that exact same way. Before I worked for that newspaper, I spent time in college at a games website that made just a bit of part-time income off ads, enough to keep the site afloat and give a little bit of compensation to writers who would hopefully go on to bigger and better paying things. Except, surprise, now you've entered my trap! Layoffs in game journalism have been a biblical plague over the last few years. It is so predominantly a freelance field at this point. And it's hard enough to get a livable wage from freelance if your byline is on websites that have growing traffic. When the main way that people search for things online is blocking that traffic entirely, consider your plug pulled. You're done. Since I keep coming back to news, the one other thing I guess I'll talk about here is the cognitive decay of it all. When you're Googling game reviews, or local road work, or political assassination attempts, you still have the opportunity to click on a bunch of different links and see what different writers are saying, how different outlets are framing whatever it is you're reading about, and make up your own mind. It's the same skill that tells us when reviews on a restaurant were written by bots or by hateful freaks mad that there was a pride flag in the window versus someone who found a hair in their pasta. It's also the skill we can use to determine whether art or photography was made from AI or actual human hands. Google has announced a future where a machine does all of that for us, and when it's responsible for 90% of all searches globally, they have the power to make that future real. Thinking about and writing this video has really put it in perspective for me how much Google has become the core portal to the whole internet. Social media comes and goes. There was a time where local businesses started focusing less on their websites and more on their Facebook pages. And now most of the people I know my age don't go on Facebook anymore. Twitter was the discourse engine of the online world, and then Elon Musk bought it and made it an uninhabitable neo-Nazi nightmare garden. And if you were trying to get off of that neo-Nazi nightmare garden and you didn't know where to turn, you could Google it. I grew up with the internet as a place where you could bring your creative work and find a place for it. I started writing there, drawing there. I've watched more than one generation of creator make those dreams realities, whether it's on YouTube or by selling their games or art or clothes or writing, or by using online spaces to connect with other artists in their own communities. But in order to make that work, you have to have a place to go to find out what's out there. You want to take a walk, but the internet doesn't have maps. Google was kind of the closest we had. Now Google is insisting that they'll take the walk for you and tell you about what it saw. That's just as good, right? Today I don't have more of an answer. Maybe we all go to Bing. Maybe we do what my household did in 2002 and only use Dogpile. Is Jeeves still around? Can we still ask Jeeves? What does Jeeves think this bird is up to right now? Instead of an answer, I'll give you a final call. You're going to finish this video, and sometime in an hour or a day, you're going to have to Google something. Keep track of what kind of results Google gives you. Think about what you're going to do when Google isn't willing to give up the goods anymore. I'm going to do the same, and maybe the next time we take a walk together, we'll both have something to share. For today, I'm all wet and going home.